Hey there, MRA, my real Africanist. This is your girl, Maria Juve, the real Africanist, and welcome to my channel. If you have been here before, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time here, I appreciate you watching. On this channel, I talk about African history, the field of African studies, and current African affairs, right? If you would like to support me in continuing to do this work and to make improvements to my channel, please do so by contributing to CASHAPP or PayPal. Both links are in the video description below, and thank you in advance for your support. Now let's get to today's topic, right? So today I just wanted to hop on here right quick before I got my day started and say, as we in the United States and other nations around the world, specifically in Spain, I would say Portugal and Italy, commemorate, right, the day that honors Christopher Columbus. Yep, we still celebrate that vagrant criminal, right? Well, we commemorate that vagrant criminal. I just wanted to remind you not to forget about the extraordinary work that our great scholars, educators, and historians, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima and John Henrik Clarke, did to dismantle this whole notion that somehow Christopher Columbus discovered America and that he was a notable heroic figure that should be celebrated, right? So the name of Dr. Van Sertima's book, if you don't already know, is They Came Before Columbus, right? There is an image of the covering. And in his book, Dr. Van Sertima does a thorough job, right, of presenting evidence that highly indicates that there was an African presence in ancient America long before Christopher Columbus set out on his voyage to reach the quote-unquote New World, right? And the name of Dr. Henrik Clarke's book is entitled Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, right? In Dr. Clarke's book, he gives all of the gory details of how the greed and immorality of Columbus and other Catholic nations, right, initiated the invasion, the exploitation, and the pillage, right, of the Americas and Africa, which basically led to the rise of capitalism and to the dehumanizing systems of slavery and colonization, right? So I'm going to put these aside, right? And again, don't forget the name. They Came Before Columbus, as well as Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, right? So I think that everybody knows that Christopher Columbus didn't discover America, right? I think we all know that. But I don't know if you know that he actually never set foot on North American soil, right? He initially set sail for Asia, well, more specifically India, but he actually landed in the Bahamas, right? Or that's how the story goes anyway. And so that's why he called the people that he encountered the Indians, right? So there is a group, of scholars as well as, ordinary lay people who disputes whether or not Columbus did anything of significance, right? Some people don't even believe that, he actually existed, but, that's another story altogether, right? But the one thing that I think we all can agree on that we do know that he did, right, that he was directly responsible for exterminating millions and millions of indigenous American people, right, which directly led to the extermination of millions, if not billions, right, of African people, which for me is the main reason that Columbus should not be celebrated nor commemorated in any right? So if you watched my last video, and if you didn't, then you need to go back and do that, right? But if you watch my last video, you know that I was talking about how black people celebrate historical figures or give people credit, right, for being great world leaders. But these people have dehumanized black folks, right? And they have and still do, in some regards, right, promote the position that African/black people are inferior, right, and that they are heathenistic human beings. Well, some of them don't even say human beings, right, but we are these other creatures who somehow need to be civilized, and that it did us some type of we got some type of benefit out of being enslaved, right, which is just utterly ridiculous and shameful for anyone to put forth that type of narrative, right? But we can't prevent other people from doing what they do. But one thing that we have to do, right, we have to stop the foolishness, right? And we have to start to value our lives and our history, and stop giving people who have willingly participated, right, in the domination and the degradation of African people kudos for being great in some kind of way, right? So I said it before, right, and I say it again, and it basically, again, I said it on our last video, my last video. To do this for me is an insult, right? It is an insult to our ancestors, and it's a slap in the face to us, to those of us who are descendants of the black people who endured the atrocities of dehumanization, of enslavement, as well as any type of human subjugation, right? So again, I just wanted to give shout outs to Dr. Clarke and Dr. Van Sertima, who did such an excellent job in dismantling the heroic or the so-called heroic expert navigation narrative that is contributed to Christopher Columbus, right? So in Dr. Van Sertima's book, right, he did an extraordinary job, right, in talking about the huge Olmec head. See this head that's featured on the cover, that has these African and Negroid features, right? He did an incredible job of talking about these heads that were actually discovered in Mexico, right, in Veracruz and in La Venta, and in other places, I believe, because there was a number of them, right? But the first head was this one, right? And this was discovered by a peasant in Veracruz who supposedly came across this head while walking in the forest area. But supposedly, I believe, was it a woman? It may have been a woman, but supposedly she bypassed it and let it sink back in the ground, which of course, right, led to an expedition excavation, right, being funded by the Smithsonian Institute and the National Geographic Society, right, two other quote unquote great entities that I believe have played a major role, right, in managing, marginalizing, I would even say manipulating, and imprisoning, right, African history and culture, right. All of our history and culture are what I like to call imprisoned inside of these these global institutions, right? But with all of the work that Dr. Van Sertima did, right, of course, it has been viciously attacked and scrutinized in every way possible. But the fact of the matter is, through years of his very painstaking research, he lays out a great deal of sufficient evidence that proves that there were Africans in the Americas way before Columbus headed this way, right? And as a matter of fact, according to Columbus himself, right? Well, himself, this was a fact that there were Africans / blacks spotted in America, right, by the indigenous people, which some say were the indigenous people, right, before Christopher Columbus came, right? So I would say for, all of the people out there in the Western academic world and others, right, who love to refer to the work of black scholars, as Afrocentric sensationalism. It just goes to show that it was not just Dr. Ivan Van Sertima and other black people that were claiming that blacks were in America, but it was actually Christopher Columbus himself, right? So I was reading a letter that Columbus wrote to Queen Isabella of Spain, right? And so in this letter, Columbus says something like the indigenous people that that he encountered when he arrived in what again he thought was India, but turned out to be the Bahamas, right? He said that these people were a strong stock of people with no handicaps or anything like that. But he said that they were fearful, right? And that they were timid and gullible, right? And basically he said that they were just willing to give the shirt off their backs, right? And he also stressed that they did not have any weapons, right? He said that they had no iron, so they had no weapons. So basically they would be easy to subdue and easy to take control of, right? Which I thought was just, just astonishing, for lack of a better word. But then he further talked about how they were willing to trade enormous amounts of their natural resources for little insignificant trinkets, right? And so, again, I thought this was, shameful and astonishing, because, if you believe this about these people, and then you turn right back around and still perpetuate the kind of death and destruction that you did upon them, just for me goes to show you how wicked, the mindset of these people were, and what lengths they were willing to go to establish this idealism of white supremacy, right? But what else is ironic, that was ironic to me about what he said, was that this is the same type of rhetoric, right? It's the same narrative that was said about African people on the continent, right? It was said that African people were a strong body, right? But they were weak, right? Childlike and uncivilized, right? And it has basically been said that we were willing to sell our own people for trinkets, for mirrors, and for umbrellas, and for wine, and all of this kind of stuff, and basically that we would give away our natural resources to these traders and invaders for absolutely nothing, right? It's also been said that we were so open and welcoming and accepting that, as people, that we also would be easy to take control over and easily converted to Christianity, right? Or to, outside religions. But that was another thing that Columbus said in the letter about the indigenous people, right? He said that they would be easily converted to Christianity. So that sticks a hole in this whole premise, is that Christianity was the, I guess I would say, the religion, already spread throughout the world before Europeans arrived, right, in other parts of the world. But we know that because of the things that we have learned, and how indigenous people in America, as well as African people, fought back and fought against the conversion to Christianity, we know that all of that is basically a lie, right? But I'll talk about that in another video. It's too much to cover in this one, right? But again, he said that the indigenous people, right, they were nice and they were friendly. But according to history, when he left the island, it was said that he took about 10 to 25, he kidnapped about 10 to 25 people and took them back to Europe with him, right? With only 8 people surviving the voyage, okay? So again, I say, if they were so nice, friendly, and gullible, why would you have to kidnap anybody, right? Why wouldn't they just willingly go back with you if these people were so easily persuaded and easily to tame? So again, it just seems very ironic to me that this is almost the identical story that is told about the European encounter with African people in Africa. So that's one of the reasons that I strongly push back, right, and challenge this whole narrative that somehow African people were just so openly and willing to, sell African people to European people. Again, I mean, it appears to me more like that him and Don Juan, Portugal, basically got together and collaborated, right, on this script that they were going to use to murder and subjugate millions and billions of people, right, and get the Catholic Church to sanction these murders and sanction this subjugation, right? But when I think about it, I'll go so far as to say that I don't even think that they needed to make up a story to sanction anything, right? Because I believe that these people already wanted to believe that they were superior to others and that others were inferior to them. So I really can't imagine that it took much convincing, right, in order for these type of atrocities to be sanctioned by the Catholic Church. So again, I know I don't have to continue to reiterate this or to tell you this, but there will be, right, no celebrating or commemorating the maiming, the killing, and the thievery of Christopher Columbus, right? Instead, I would suggest that we take this day to stand in solidarity with the indigenous people of the world, right? Also those in Australia who are still going through the threat of extinction, right? And stand together as a force to those who have been moved to the fringes of society, right? And again, let's not forget the great work that was done by our ancestors to liberate, right, and to preserve the history of Black people throughout the world, right? Again, we have Dr. Henrik Clarke during Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, and Dr. Ivan Van Sertima with They Came Before Columbus, right? And so may Dr. Van Sertima and Dr. Clarke continue to rest in peace, and I'll talk to you later. Oh yeah, I am Maria Juve, the Real Africanist, and please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, right? And if you would like to make a contribution to my channel, you can do so through CASHAPP at $Real Africanist or through PayPal at paypal.me/The Real Africanist. The links are in the description below. Also, don't forget, fight the power, always go deeper, and never forget the ancestors. Peace.